All right, everyone. So I just got done watching the Google Pixel event, and I just wanted to give some quick impressions. Just kind of like a right after watching it, like reaction video. I've been meaning to do these for some of the events that have been happening, like the Apple event, but I just haven't had time to get around to it. But I was so impressed with the Google event that I thought I would go ahead and record something just to talk about what my initial impressions are. And see, the two things I'm the most excited about are, probably pretty predictably the Pixel phone, the Pixel 2, the Pixel XL, the new Pixel phones, and the Pixel book. But uh, the new and I forget what they're called already, but the Pixel Buds, those are pretty cool too. I was really hoping that somebody would come out with a good AirPods competitor for Android, and it looks like they finally delivered on that. I didn't know if Google was wanting to compete in that space or not. And I know there's some other really good wireless earbuds that are out there already for Android, but it's really nice to see something that's coming from Google, be officially supported, and the implementation in the instant translating, I think is really cool. Again, that's not exactly new. There's been products out that have done that type of thing before, but never anything that I can think of that's been like so well integrated into like the smartphone or integrated into the Google Home space. But anyway, as interesting as the Google Home is, and as interesting as um, the, the 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 Pixel Buds, and as interesting as maybe like the weird little camera that like records your records your kids or your dog automatically or whatever is, I'm really going to focus on just what my opinions are on the phones and on the new laptop. So I guess let's start with the phones. The I think Google really delivered in a big way in terms of making a flagship that's going to compete really well with what Apple came out with in their keynote. There's a lot of little jabs um, at Apple during the whole event, which I thought was really funny. Um, they really dunked on Apple a lot, and it was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. Um, I was one thing I was concerned about is that they're going to keep the giant bezels from the original phones, and the Pixel 2 has some pretty big bezels still, but I mean you do have the speakers and everything, so that kind of makes up for it. I mean, at least they're using the space in a really good way, and the screen's still really nice. But in the Pixel 2 XL, I mean, it it's got a little bit of a forehead and a little bit of a chin, but for the most part, it's just like this giant like full screen display, and I think it's a really nice contrast to where to contrast against the iPhone 10, because the iPhone 10 has that weird little notch that people are freaking out over. Personally, I don't actually think it's that big of a deal, but it's got the notch, and it kind of disrupts the whole the whole fluidity of the display. It kind of breaks things up, and it's kind of in the way. It covers up some content and stuff sometimes, and developers have to program around it, and it's kind of a hassle. Whereas you basically just get the full screen, slim bezel experience on the Pixel 2 XL, and I think it's really cool. I think it's a really good look. Kind of reminds me of the LG G6 in terms of just the way the screen is shaped. I guess it's a little bit more curved. The materials are really nice. I love the color schemes. I think the naming convention's still really funny and clever with the kind of blue and the clearly white. Um, I want to say basic black, but that's not what it's called. um, But uh, the one thing I really love too is on the Pixel 2 XL, the orange on the power button. I think that's really cool, really cool piece of contrast. I like the little glass window thing that keeps the antenna signals going through the glass. I think that's really cool. Um, I think that might be kind of a divisive point for some people. Some people probably don't like the way it interrupts the unibody look, but I think it gives the phone some really unique character. Um, I think the squeezing thing is actually pretty cool. I thought it was kind of dubious when when I first heard the rumors that they were bringing the squeezing thing from like the HTC phones on board, but it's not a bad implementation. It's acting like the Bixby button on a Samsung phone, except for for something you'd actually use. Not unlike Bixby. And supposedly it's supposed to be able to detect really well using like machine learning, if you're intentionally squeezing it or not. We'll see if that's the case or not. I'm sure if it's really annoying, you can probably disable it in the options somewhere if it's just something you absolutely hate. But I think it's kind of clever and kind of fun, and um, I think it's kind of a novel thing. I'll be willing to give it a try. Would have been better just to put another button on it. Maybe that would have just been better. But and if they make the squeezing function remappable, then they would even one up Samsung with like being able to squeeze the function. And when I'm saying like they dumped on Apple or like they're one upping Samsung, don't get me wrong when I'm saying these things, because I'm not necessarily saying that oh man, I love Google, and I don't like the competitors as much as if you watch other videos on the channel, I have an iPad. I love my iPad. I love my Windows computer. I love my Samsung phone. I have a Galaxy Note 5. But the competition's really great and interesting to see, and I think that they are doing some really unique and special things in the smartphone category with their Pixel phones that the other companies just are kind of struggling. They're not necessarily getting there. I mean, Samsung has been really good, like with the Infinity Display on on the Galaxy S8 and the Galaxy Note 8. I mean, that looks really good. It's really good. Um, and, you just have the tiny chin, the tiny forehead. They put the fingerprint reader in a really dumb place, but what can you do? I mean, those are by all accounts amazing phones. But I've been away from the Google like mainline Android phone thing for a while. My first smartphone was a Nexus S, and I had a Nexus 4, and I really love those phones. I really love the stock Android experience, and I've just been kind of wanting to go back to that. So the only thing that I'd really miss, is getting like a Pixel 2 XL instead of getting a Note 8 is the stylus, which I use the stylus all the time. I love the stylus. I love taking notes. I love drawing with it. So that would be a really big bummer to lose that, but I might be able to get over that for the Pixel. And I guess I can use that to kind of segue into the Pixel Book. So um, they finally have a Pixel. They finally have a version of like their Pixel Chromebook that I think I would actually be able to buy and use for somewhat practical applications instead of it being just like a really nice Chromebook. I mean, yeah, now it's still kind of a really nice Chromebook, but it's also a really nice Chromebook that turns into an Android tablet. It's got a really good stylus that has like 10 millisecond latency, which really surprised me. I mean, that's crazy. I'd be really interested to learn about how they did that, because both, as far as I understand, both Apple's engineers and Microsoft's engineers have been working very hard to get that latency down, and they pushed it way down to 20 and 21 milliseconds respectively, and I was just super impressed with that. And now here they come out with 10. I mean, that's nuts. That's absolutely insane. It's got the tilt. Only 2,000 levels of pressure sensitivity, but I think anything over 2048 levels of pressure sensitivity is overkill. I think it's an amazing stylus, and I'll have to try it out and see what I feel like, but I think that's great. I think the only thing actually lacking is drawing apps on the Android ecosystem. There's not a lot of really great drawing apps. There are a few, and I'll probably cover my favorite drawing apps on Android, especially with this new development of having this new kind of like hybrid like tablet laptop thing that you could use as a digital art device. I'll definitely be covering some of my favorite apps. My current, I would say, just off the top of my head, if you're drawing on any sort of Android device, I think the two best ones are Sketchbook, and Autodesk Sketchbook, and Infinite Painter. Those are really good. I guess Medibang though could be really good. I've used that and it's a very robust feature. The only thing I don't like about it is the interface is kind of overwhelming. It kind of gets in the way a lot. It's a little cluttery, but I mean, other than that, Medibang's a great app, and it's especially great because it's free. Sketchbook is subscription based, and Infinite Painter is in-app purchase based. So, I mean, especially since you can get Medibang for free, it's also a really great deal. There's nothing nearly as good, in my opinion, as Procreate, though, and that's a huge bummer. I really love Procreate. I even love drawing in Procreate more than I love drawing in Photoshop. So, that would be a big void to fill. But could you do like professional illustration work on it in digital painting? Yeah, I think you could. And I think my greatest hope with this device is that because it's being pushed as like a flagship device in the Chromebook category. Maybe some of these features. I mean, and there's been Chromebooks that have styluses before, and they've been doing the Android thing. They just barely kind of started doing that, like the Chromebook Plus and the Chromebook Pro. I think they're called from Samsung, that had like the S Pen built in. So it's already been a thing, but I think since now it's like an official, like mainstream, flagship, device. My hope is that more developers will come to Android, and maybe somebody will build the Procreate for Android. I don't think what's the company that makes Procreate? Savage. I don't think they're going to make a version of Procreate on Android. I just really doubt that's going to happen. But what I mean is, people will come and build, even more and more amazing Android apps for creatives, and it could become a really amazing marketplace. And there's already enough basic apps out there where you can get a surprising amount of work done in the Android ecosystem. And I hope this attracts more people to, do more creative-based apps. It'd be great to see some more like 3D modeling apps. It'd be great to see some more design-focused apps. But yeah, it's a good thing. I think I'm definitely going to pick one up at some point. They're pretty expensive, but I think it's a really high-end device. I really love like the little glass back on the unibody. I think that's a nice touch, and the improved antenna performance is like it's like a tangible benefit I wouldn't have even really considered. I totally thought when I first thought it was just for aesthetic purposes, but that makes sense. I never thought about how like a unibody MacBook or something could actually like being blocking the antennas. So that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that they thought of that, and it looks great. The new pen looks great. Again, I'll have to see how it feels in order to see if I like it or not, but it feels great. Or not, it doesn't feel great because I haven't tried it yet, but it looks like it feels really good. It looks like it's a very high performing pen. Unfortunately, it was just like kind of like a little footnote that they put in the presentation. But I get it. It's just because it has creative capabilities, it's not necessarily being marketed to a creative market. It's they're not pushing that as hard as Microsoft or Apple is with their tablets. So, but yeah, I think it's going to be pretty cool. yeah, so those are my thoughts on those two devices. I guess I was just kind of kind of rambling. Um, I'm not even really going to edit this video or insert images or anything. It's just going to be a real basic video, kind of like a vlog type of thing. And I plan on coming back and revisiting this topic later with some more in-depth opinions, maybe as I find out more about the pen. For example, or I go to some store somewhere and I'm able to actually try it and do a hands-on, I'll form some more opinions then. But for now, I just think it's really cool. The Pixel 2 XL could very well be my next phone, could very well be my upgrade. And yeah, my new tablet / laptop on the go could also be a Pixelbook. That's a very real possibility too. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you didn't like the video, well, I mean, dislike it. It's not like I have to tell you to do that, you know. Yeah, and there's links down below to my Patreon, my Ko-fi, other things. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.